The December wind howled over the Montana plains, a bitter song that carried the sharp sting of ice. But Jonah Donnelly felt a deeper cold, one that had settled in his bones 15 years ago and never left. 15 years a widower, 15 years of working from the first hint of grey light until the last embers of dusk faded, and 15 years since anyone had looked at him like he was more than just a rancher with hands as weathered as old leather. The folks in Cedar Ridge called him proud, stubborn, and too set in his solitary ways for his own good. They couldn't know the truth. Jonah wasn't proud. He was just tired of being disappointed. The Double D Ranch stretched wide and wild under a sky that was a vast, unforgiving grey. His cattle huddled together for warmth, dark shapes against the endless blanket of white snow. Inside his house, every board groaned under the weight of the wind and the memories it carried. The walls had grown accustomed to silence, broken only by the crackle of the fire. His bed was a cold, empty expanse each night, and his heart remained just as frozen. Then one afternoon, as the snow began to fall in a blinding sheet, a movement by the gate caught his eye. He squinted through the swirling blizzard, expecting a lost calf or a wolf. Instead, he saw two figures, stumbling through the deep drifts, clinging to one another. They were small, their dark hair stark against the snow, and they were woefully unprepared for the brutal winter. Dustings of snow covered them from head to foot, and they moved with the slow, desperate exhaustion of those about to surrender to the cold. As he watched, one of them fell, pulling the other down into the snow. Jonah threw on his thickest coat and hurried toward the fence. When he reached them, he saw they were two young Chinese women, identical in their delicate features and the terror that haunted their dark eyes. They were shivering violently, their lips blue. One of them looked up at him, her voice a fragile whisper, lost in the wind. "Please," she managed, "help us." "You're freezing," Jonah said, his voice rough from disuse. He wasted no more time, scooping one of them into his arms while helping the other to her feet. Her sister was alarmingly light. "Easy now. You're safe here," he half-carried, half-dragged them toward the warmth of his home. Inside, he settled them near the hearth, the firelight flickering over their pale faces. One of them breathed a name, her voice barely audible. This is my sister, Leanne." Jonah worked with a gentle efficiency that would have surprised the townsfolk. He ladled hot stew into bowls, his steady hands a contrast to their trembling fingers. They ate with a desperate hunger that spoke of days without a proper meal. As warmth returned to them, he saw the bruises on their arms and the fear that never quite left their eyes. These women were not just lost, they were running. "You'll stay the night," he stated, leaving no room for argument. The one named might try to protest. "We do not wish to bring trouble to you." Jonah's gaze was firm. "You can barely sit upright. Trouble or not, I won't turn away someone who needs help." The other sister, Leanne, finally nodded, too weary to argue. They ate together at his kitchen table. After the first few bites, they ate like starving women. "Been traveling long?" Jonah asked, his tone softer than he intended. "Many days," Mai said softly. "Running away from something," Leanne added. "We cannot say where we are headed yet." Jonah studied them closely. Beneath the grime and weariness, he saw two souls burdened by more than the winter cold. When they finished eating, Jonah showed them to the guest room upstairs. "There are clean sheets," he said, "and rest. You'll need it." "Thank you," they said in unison, their voices sincere. "You have already done more than we deserve." Jonah paused at the door, a strange, unfamiliar warmth stirring deep inside him. "Get some sleep," he said. "We'll talk more in the morning." Hours later, the blizzard raged against the windows as Jonah lay awake in his own bed. His house had not felt this alive in years. He could hear the soft murmurs from upstairs as the sisters settled into a safe rest. It reminded him what it was like to not be utterly alone. The next morning, Jonah expected to wake to silence. Instead, he found Mai and Leanne in the kitchen, the scent of hot tea filling the air. "We figured we could lend a hand," Mai said shyly. "It is the least we can do." Jonah raised a brow. No one had worked beside him in this house since his wife had passed. The help felt strange, but good. "Breakfast is ready," he said, trying to hide a smile. They ate together again. Color had returned to their cheeks. "Why do you live all alone out here?" Leanne asked. Jonah shrugged. "Life didn't turn out the way I thought it would. No children." Mai asked gently. "No," he replied. "Some dreams don't grow the way you hope." The sisters looked down, their expressions full of a shared understanding of lost dreams. As the days turned into a week, the blizzard passed, leaving the world pristine and white. Mai and Leanne settled into ranch life like they were born to it. They mended his clothes with neat, careful stitches, cooked meals that filled the house with forgotten aromas, and even coaxed the old barn cat into letting them pet it. Jonah found himself laughing again, real laughter that echoed in the quiet halls of his home. But with this newfound happiness came a creeping fear of it ending. One afternoon, Jonah watched them from the porch. They were working together, clearing a snow-covered path to the barn, their movements synchronized, their quiet chatter a melody against the winter silence. They looked like they belonged to the land, like they belonged here with him. He gripped the porch rail, his heart trembling with a hope he had not dared to feel in years. That evening, while the setting sun bled orange and pink across the snow, Jonah found them leaning against the porch rail, watching the sky. "My, Leanne," he said slowly, his voice heavy with unspoken emotion. "I want you to stay. Not just until you're healed." Leanne's breath caught. "How much longer?" "As long as you'll let me have you." Jonah looked at them, his gaze steady and courageous. "I'll work every day harder than anyone you've ever known to provide for you. I want to help you carry the weight of this world." Jonah stared at him, fighting the happiness rising inside him. "Why?" Mai asked softly. "You do not owe us anything." Jonah looked out at the vast, snow-covered land. "For the first time in a long time, I don't feel like I'm just waiting for the end. I feel like I've finally started living again." His words rested in the still, cold air like a prayer answered. He stepped closer. "This ranch, it's a lot to take on." "We are not afraid of work," Leanne whispered. "No," Jonah said, his voice unsteady. "I mean, it's a lot to take on with me." The twins turned, meeting his eyes. "Jonah," Mai said, "we see you. Not just the ranch. Not just the strong man everyone depends on. We see you." The wind stilled. Jonah's heartbeat was so loud he could barely hear anything else. Mai and Leanne each took one of his calloused hands. "We want to build a life here with you." Jonah swallowed hard. He was 58. They were young, barely 25. What right did he have to dream? And yet here they were, offering him everything he had silently wished for. "You are so young," he whispered. "You could have husbands your own age. Children, a different future." Mai shook her head. "We have only ever had each other. We have never known kindness from a man." Her voice softened. "Then we met you. A man who does not want to save us, but to stand with us." Leanne's thumb brushed the back of his hand, a slow, tender gesture. "You make us feel like the women we want to be." Jonah felt his defenses cracking, the wall he had built stone by stone over years of solitude. But fear lingered, sharp in his chest. "I have secrets," they admitted in unison. "Things we have never told anyone." "Whatever they are," Jonah said, "they won't scare me off." The sisters hesitated, not with their hearts, but with caution born of a harsh life. "The man we ran from in the mining town," Leanne began. "He believes he owns us. He will come looking." Jonah's expression hardened. "Let him come. I didn't fall for two frightened women who needed shelter. I fell for the women who wake up before dawn to brave the cold, who work harder than any ranch hand, who filled my silent home with warmth and laughter. Those are the women I'm asking to stay beside me." They exhaled in relief, their shoulders sinking as years of fear loosened its grip. Jonah smiled, slow and sure, and touched both of their cheeks. "I don't care about your past. I want to be your future." The world felt small and full and perfect. The twins reached up and held his face gently between their hands. "Then stay," he whispered. Marry me. Both of you. He leaned in to kiss them, a promise of a shared future. But just as their lips were about to meet, the sound of hoofbeats cracked the winter silence, hard and fast, coming up the road. The twins stiffened instantly, their faces pale with terror. Jonah felt his throat tighten. "It is him," Mai whispered. "He found us." The hoofbeats grew louder, pounding like a death knell across the plains. Jonah and the twins stepped off the porch, their eyes fixed on the dark riders approaching through the dusk. 3 men on horseback slowed at the gate. The leader, a large, cruel-looking man, called out, "I'm looking for my property." 2 Chinese girls. Jonah stepped forward, shoulders squared. "There's no property here. Only people." The man grinned without warmth. "They ran off. That ain't how things end. You owe me for them." Jonah felt the sharp sting of rage in his chest. These men had come to his home, his land, threatening the women he had dared to love. He moved to stand in front of them. "I don't owe you a thing. That contract was illegal and immoral. They are free women." "That ain't what the law thinks," the man replied. "We're done talking." Before violence could erupt, Jonah spoke, his voice strong and clear as the winter air. "This is private land. You boys can keep riding, or we can finish this in town with the sheriff. And I promise you, my word carries more weight in this county than yours." The man sneered. "Mister, a lonely ranch won't protect them from this." Jonah's eyes flashed. He stood taller, unafraid. "I am not a lonely man," he said. "And I protect what's mine." Hermione Leanne's breath caught at his words. "What's mine?" The men shifted uneasily, glancing around at the formidable ranch. Something about Jonah's confidence made them hesitate. He looked like a man who had faced down blizzards and wolves and never bowed. "If you try taking them," Jonah added, his hand resting near the pistol at his belt, "you'll regret it." The cruel man's smirk faded. Mai and Leanne stepped up to stand beside Jonah, one on each side, their hands brushing his. A quiet promise passed between the 3 of them. Finally, the leader spat into the snow. "This ain't over," he growled. "It is for you," Jonah replied. "Ride out." The riders turned and galloped away into the fading light. Silence filled the ranch again. Jonah exhaled, shaking with adrenaline. "You shouldn't have," Mai whispered. "I will not hide from anyone," he said firmly. "And I won't let them take you." Mai and Leanne stared at him, their eyes full of an emotion so profound it left them speechless. "You'd risk your ranch, your life for us." Jonah touched their cheeks with gentle fingers. "You said you wanted to help carry the weight of this place. I want to help carry yours." Emotion shook their voices. "We haven't had anyone stand for us in a long time." "You do now," Jonah whispered. He leaned his forehead against theirs, the moment holding them close. "I love you," he breathed. "Every day you've been here, that feeling grew stronger." Their eyes burned with tears they refused to hide. "We love you, too, Jonah." "We never thought we'd feel this again." He kissed them then, slow, deep, full of every wound and every hope they carried. When they parted, the twins were smiling through their tears. "If you plan to marry us," Mai teased lightly, "there's something you should know." "What's that?" Jonah asked, still breathless. Leanne took his hand and placed it over her heart, while Mai placed her hand over his. "This place is yours, too, now," Jonah said. "Not because you asked, but because you earned it." They swallowed hard. "We'll spend every morning and night proving you made the right choice." They stood together as the stars came out, impossibly bright in the cold, clear sky. The land was peaceful once more. The danger had not vanished, but they would face it side by side, as a family. Later that night, with the windows frosted over and the fire burning low, Jonah lay beside Mai and Leanne for the first time. Not as strangers seeking shelter, not as runaways, but as the women he had chosen. He looked at them in the moonlight. Mai looked at him, her dark eyes soft and vulnerable. "Please take it easy," she whispered with a smile. Leanne nodded, adding, "We have not been loved in years." Jonah laughed softly, kissed both their hands, and held them close. "You make me feel like I finally found home," he said. "You did," they whispered in unison. "We all did." Outside, the wind swept across the grasslands, calm and steady. The Double D Ranch slept under the wide Montana sky. Tomorrow would come with new work, new challenges, and a new, shared hope. But tonight, Jonah Donnelly's heart was no longer lonely. He had two souls to share the dawn with, two partners who would stand with him against any storm.